potential of generative AI in customer experience and retention, unlocking tomorrow. And for the same, I would like to introduce the speaker. Mr. Ravi Badve boasts an extensive two-decade career in global payments and finance, currently serving as Director, Product Delivery at Mastercard in Asia Pacific, recognized for pioneering digital transformation and innovation. He holds a design thinking certification, championing customer centricity. He is a sought-after keynote speaker at prestigious industry events and has featured in podcast and YouTube broadcast. His multifaceted expertise distinguishes him in the dynamic realm of payments and finance. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. Ravi Badve, Director, Consumer Delivery, Mastercard. Let's have a huge round of applause for Mr. Ravi Badve.
Thank you. Good morning. It's still morning. I saw it's 9 minutes left for 12 o'clock, so hope you're all fresh. Well, she introduced, I'm part of Mastercard. I've been majorly in the space of product design, development, delivery, and also part of operation. So my content will be more influenced by how we can retain customer, how we can make that lasting impression. So the customer is retained because of the product that we give it to them, the design and everything. Now, this is a topic which I wouldn't want to claim I knew it all. There is a section in my product design and development where we are implementing generative AI, which I'll cover here. But in order for bringing a sort of an all-round content, I was also researching myself, and I was blown away by what generative AI is and what it can do for us, right? I just want to quickly understand by just a raise of hands, how many of you use ChatGPT? Or have used ChatGPT? Just take a look around the percentage, you will understand how many people use ChatGPT. And for people who use ChatGPT, including if I count myself a few weeks ago, was under impression that this is only the generative AI that we have seen so far. But believe me, generative AI is much more, and those are some of the elements we'll talk about, and then how the power of generative AI can be harnessed for customer service, customer experience, and thereby retention of customers. Can I have the click, please? All right, so as I was saying, ChatGPT is not the only form of generative AI. There are many, right? Now, can anybody guess what form of generative AI is it? Maybe give it a shout. What is this form of generative AI? Yes, please. It is Mid-Journey. Mid-Journey is one of the tools, but if you categorize it all, it is an art generation plus image generation AI. This is where things start getting more interesting, because if you can generate Kim Jong, Putin, and him playing Holi, and there's a selfie that looks more real, this is generative AI, a smart art, then the limit just becomes, the possibility just becomes, the sky is a possibility, right? Why? Because for your marketing campaign, now there is a mechanism with which you can have models who don't exist in the real world. You can choose which model or what kind of model that will sort of relate to your customer and have that as part of the product description. There are certain legalities involved that we'll talk about that later, but that's just the power of generative AI. Now, I know there are a lot of CMOs and marketing people sitting in the group, so I don't want to talk too much about what is retention and what are the challenges, but just a quick look, because we're going to relate it back to see if generative AI can solve some of these issues, yes or no. A typical challenge is on a modern day customer. People are expecting a lot, aren't we? You and I are customers. We need some instant gratification when we do a deal or when we buy something. We want to see things very quickly. And the price sensitivity is also quite high. People are choosing, even if it means a 10 rupee less, people can make a decision if it is widely available. So the competitive space is wide, right? Social media influencers. How many of us when we want to take the vacation or we want to buy a phone, go on and check reviews. And these reviews are highly influenced by the social media influencers. There are tons of sites, they make good money out of it, but do we make good decision out of them? Maybe yes, maybe sometimes no. But those are some of the challenges why we can possibly not retain the same customer to whom we have sold so many years now. I know a lot of people are, I think Biswajit also mentioned about his framework of all the strategies of customer retention, loyalty programs, customer service, multi-channel and omni-channel, they are there. It's given. This is something which now must be in the strategy. But look at this, the personalization factor is what will come when we use more of generative AI. And we are all seeing it and living it and experiencing. In different products we use, right from Netflix to Ola's to different shopping experience on Amazon and many other e-commerce websites. If the merchant is getting an element of personalization, and by the way, element means a kind of personalization which is helping us choose better, make better decision, then that is the key. The whole of business and the conversion will happen seamlessly. So with that, because we're going to delve into how AI is going to solve some of those challenges, I want to break it down what generative AI is. People have general idea. In fact, I'm also learning, so I don't want to tell I'm an expert and give you the best definition, but I want to break it down for all of us to understand. Now, there is a traditional AI that we have seen, with which we have played chess. We played chess with computers, right? It was, sometimes you used to think how much moves the chess has to remember. But they are all permutations and combinations. Right? It's a pre-programmed move or pre-programmed steps that can be taken based on the situation. So it's all if, else, and then, if my technical friends can relate to. However, things have changed. Generative AI is a set of technology which deploys deep learning models and neural networks, which means it's also, you will hear the term large language model, which means it is able to parse and scan large data sets, which can be as big as internet content, and able to produce the quality content which may not be told or programmed, but can be completely new and unique based on that data set. And that is why ChatGPT is able to tell you a very contextual response, right? How does it start? Let me ask him a question that, maybe give me a better marketing campaign for senior citizens, yet it should appeal millennials. There comes the response which has mix of both. It has the conclusion. It's as good as somebody giving you a personal advice. That's the neural network scanning all of the data available to it and then concluding it in a condensed form. So that's the power. Now, how is it different from traditional AI? Of course, I spoke about the problem-solving approach. This is a training model versus a pre-programmed algorithm. And learning method, so there's something called as a deep learning method. This is something we have also deployed in one of the products at Mastercard. And the only condition there is the model has to be in live environment for more than a month. What it does, it keeps on learning the transaction, the behavior, and then is able to produce a decision-making skill within itself. So that's the power of machine learning. And of course, flexibility we talk about. It's flexible. It has a lot of these types of generative AI. The image that we saw came from Midjourney. Because it's an image generative AI, there's a video generation that you can describe what kind of video you want. And again, the whole data set across the world is available to us for generating that content. Right? Similarly, a lot of tech folks are able to generate code and programs, but there's also a good tip that I can share with you. There is a platform called as Tome, T-O-M-E, which can help you create presentations in a conversational mode, which means if you are able to tell what kind of presentation you want and give that basic context to it, it can build the presentation. It can generate AI images from platforms like Midjourney. So all of your work, the content, the image, it's all is available. And this is sometime my big worry comes in that are we going to lose some creativity with so much available to us on the click of button? But that's a different conversation, right? This, if all put together, and now we're talking about customer experience, retention, loyalty, how big the possibility will be for all of us to deploy right generative AI out of all of these platforms into, I'm not saying adopt one big tool for generative AI, but there are small chunks. Many organizations are reviving their AI policies in such a way that they're starting small. They're discovering what it works for them, what kind of mode, which sort of form factor, and then going big bang on deploying an enterprise-wide AI tool. That's what some of the experience has been. But this is what generative AI looks like. Now, going straight into the topic of customer retention and customer loyalty. We all agree that it's all related to experience we spoke about. If there is an experience, there's a customer delight, the retention loyalty is something which has to happen. You need to address some of the elements of why the churn can be. But the first and foremost use case that generative AI is taking up as a big leap is into customer service. You all must have used the chatbots before, right? When you log into a bank site, there's a chatbot coming and asking you what your query is. How has the experience been? Earlier, I'm saying, not now, like imagine 2 years ago, some chat pops up and says, okay, what do you want to do? How can I help you? I mean, you immediately understand it's a bot. It is going to tell me some pre-programmed answer. If you ask them, can you talk about medical claim policy? It will ask you to fill up a general insurance form. Things like that we have seen, and mostly we give up on a chat and want to talk to a live person. Imagine use of ChatGPT plus the, what's that called, the natural language understanding technique. All of that coming together to provide a conversational help. And more than conversational, imagine it's a very contextual help. You're able to, the more context you're able to provide, the response of that question is going to be most relevant and something that you will be mostly satisfied with. So that kind of change is happening, and you will see more advanced changes happening to this area, specifically chatbots, customer service agents. I know many CRM tools have one, but the integration of generative AI, and specifically if organization is feeding all its content, like if it's an insurance company, all of the data processes is fed to generative AI, it will be able to learn and create that contextual responses. Big thing to watch for. Secondly, as I tell you, I'm more from product design and development and operations. This field is also will see much bigger changes because now we are able to generate an idea, and if I wanted to elaborate with more research and examples, generative AI can come handy. There have been examples where some of the ethnographical research, meaning I'm also part of a design thinking program at Mastercard. We want to understand different behaviors, cultures of different countries and what they respond to. Condensing of that information in a small report was possible through generative AI. And that we were able to directly fed into some of the business requirement documents or the designs that we were doing. So that is a intent or at a limit at which AI can help at a new product development. Personalization, we spoke already. The main thing here is understanding customer behavior. That can happen on multiple customer preferences that we are telling the brands. The multiple customer preferences, we're not saying the data, but here are the preferences that comes, based on which there's a tailored content and communication that directly talks to the customer. And that is actually a very sharp, laser sharp way of talking to customer. Right? There are different product recommendations that we have all seen, and this is my belief, right? That there exist so many things around the world that I don't know. And if somebody will not tell me, I will not be able to explore. Like for example, I was watching a Netflix the other day, and Netflix recommended me Black Mirror, which became my best of favorites so far. If I wouldn't have been recommended, I would have never watched if I don't know why. So what I'm saying, that there exists so many things that we must be recommended in a positive way so that we can add more of what we want and what we can grow our choices and favorites into. And the whole communication strategy we already spoke about. So that's the third area. The last is the predictive analysis. This is the power of generative AI, where it is estimating the future, predicting the future by a large set of data which has already been scanned, parsed, and understood, and some of the machine and deep learning that has happened. This area will see a lot of customer needs. It can anticipate churns, why customer is moving away, how can we get both, as I said, senior citizens and millennials together and address their need, all of that through predictive analysis. So these are the four major areas I think a generative AI can make positive impact. It is making positive impact, and it will just grow. In at least 2 to 3 years, we'll see things that we cannot even imagine now. Some of the case studies, the big brands that you see, of course, we have implemented it, but then Sephora, the French brand, which has multiple products, original products, they have used extensively to generate the predictive analysis as well as customer recommendations, and they are doing very well as when it comes to recommendation of products. Starbucks, again, created a big experience for a customer. The moment you walk inside the store is able to recognize you, they're able to understand the points that you have, and able to also give you the choice of a drink that you want. Domino's Pizza and so on. The way all of them have followed through is understanding customer preferences, which means all of the data that can be understood well, training the model on scanning, parsing the data, and doing that dynamic personalization to adapt what kind of recommendation and results and outcome that their generative AI should produce for all three, wherever the case comes in. Of course, all of the results that you can see, it's a higher engagement, higher satisfaction, and that's what some of these brands are able to create cult followers. I've seen when I walk into Starbucks outside India, it's so default that people would want to walk there and carry a cup to their office. So it's become people have become so much of cult followers for some of these brands because all of the design, product, experience that goes all in it. Now, talking very specific at Mastercard, I was part of a fraud management application. Now, there are billions of transactions that happen on the network. These are the card present transactions, which you and I use card, and there are e-commerce transactions which are happening online. The amount of fraud in e-commerce space is humongous. There are new ways with which fraudsters are able to create frauds. Not all countries have second factor authentication like OTP mechanism that we see here. With all of that, there is an invention and use of generative AI. It started with AI, original AI to begin with, and then use of generative AI to scan large set of transactions happening online or otherwise and see the patterns of frauds. So there is a rule book which is getting enhanced with every day and with every transaction. And the behavior that gets understood of different transactions, it's able to predict if it's a safe transaction or it has got a score with which red, yellow, green can be tagged for each transaction. So for me, this was the closest experience where we could use AI in fraud management. Again, I just want to go and paint a quick picture of the future here. What we can expect is more advanced personalization. The AI is going to get better, faster, and the responses will be absolutely sharp and focused, giving us what we want. We can see multi-domain use. So we are already seeing travel. You can generate your itinerary through ChatGPT, but there is more advanced travel sites deploying generative AI. Then there are different businesses, finance and banking, insurance sector, the motor sector, all using generative AI. So the use and the businesses will expand. And then, of course, things will be more faster and improved. Some considerations, though. So we spoke about different images. We spoke about consent. We spoke about user data. That is going to play a critical role. So data privacy there has to be good balance with which user is not unsolicitedly bugged versus it's given what user want. So that what I call it is a willing consent. Today, when we are installing an app, we are able to generally push in button to accept all of them, but there are a lot of things that goes behind the permissions that we provide. So a user has to be more aware, conscious of what preferences and what data is to be shared, and an exit plan whenever a user want from all of these preferences so that he is not one of the items scanned by the AI. Right? So that is the consideration. With that, I will conclude my presentation. I had one more case study though. I'll just take a quick look at the questions. If not, then I'll share my future case study with you. If there's any question, please feel free to ask. Do I have still 50 seconds?
Yeah, 50 seconds.
Okay. Here's what a couple of us were doing it in a hackathon. Imagine streaming websites, all streaming networks, Netflix, Amazon Prime, all of it, if they are able to integrate with e-commerce, what kind of experience would that be? Has it ever happened that you're watching a movie and the wife says, "Acha, ye location acha hai. This is where I want to go for vacation." Or a boy says, "This is a good car, we must consider buying it." And you just don't know where to buy it or what to do about it. Imagine if watching movie can be converted into an e-commerce experience where you click that button of a car or simply a curtain which you're seeing in the television, and then it connects to the right merchant who can supply that within the days. So integration of streaming in e-commerce can just give us so many options and can be the case study of the future. That's all I had to say. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I would request you to kindly, sir, stay back on stage. And now I would request Ms. Sonalika Sarna, Principal Solution Engineer, Digital Experience Salesforce, to kindly join us on stage for felicitating Mr. Ravi Badve. So thank you so much for sharing insights with us and sharing your own ideas and perspective. Let's have a huge round of applause for Mr. Ravi Badve.